So, welcome everybody to episode 10. I'm pretty sure it's episode 10. Let's just go with episode 10. No, it's definitely episode 10.
Jeff Bezos is episode 11, so that's coming next.
Jeff Bezos was episode 11, absolutely. So, today we are actually live streaming this on Instagram.
Hi, Instagram.
Hello, Instagram. Might get some questions come through as we go, but we'll deal with them as they come in. So, today's episode is going to be how to start a business. We got no guests today, just stuck with me and James.
Yeah.
I know. I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry about that, but yeah, it's just me and James today.
Yeah, it should be fun, though. We'll get to put our views across today, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, and we haven't done one in a couple of weeks, so we've been looking forward to this. And it's a total coincidence that today is the day when the Forbes 30 under 30 list was published, which we are on, unbelievably.
Yes. Amazing.
I know, mental. So it's a good day for us to do this and talk about our journey, really, and how to start a business. And if you want to go onto the Forbes list, how to do it, basically.
Yes. To be honest, I think I underestimated it. I obviously know about Forbes and how big Forbes is, but it's just unbelievable, the response to it and stuff like that. I just didn't expect it, probably naively on my part, but it's been absolutely huge, amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much to everybody's support. We want to be able to do this without our customers, just full stop. Every single one of our customers, actually, and we our customers know how much we take customer service seriously and appreciate them, every customer. And so, yeah, we really appreciate it and the support. And our brands that we work with, I'm not even going to start shouting them out because I won't be able to name them all, and I might offend any that I forget, but yeah, it's we really appreciate the brands that we work with, and it's been a mental journey, to be honest. Madness. So we're going to get into that, and yeah, thanks to everyone for their support, everybody. So yeah, let's get into it, James.
Yeah.
How to start a business, James? How do you start a business?
Well, I think you have to have somebody who's brave enough to take the leap to start a business. I think that's the first stage. And this is not me patting myself on the back whatsoever, because I think you were the person that sort of had that initially for us. Yeah. Obviously approached me to do this with you as well, because we were working together. Yeah, so I think you have to have somebody who's committed to the idea and is willing to take on the ups and downs and the highs and lows of it, and to put up with, unless you've got a big pot of money to start off with, which you don't have to have, by the way, somebody that is willing to ride out that initial difficult spell, which you get in any business where it's not generating anything for yourself financially, and you have to sort of live with that and plan for it. So I think that's the first step, really. But it's between sort of having the passion and the mentality to do that, and also having the idea, because every business starts with an idea, and I believe it starts from solving a problem.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Any business solves a problem, or brings something to people's lives that people are going to really take value from. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but the problem with that is like people go, I don't know what sort of business to start. I need to solve a problem. Or a see-through toaster and stuff like
invisible
that.
Toaster.
Invisible toaster, but it wouldn't be very good.
We've got an invisible toaster right here for anybody that's watching.
You know what I mean. They try and think of stuff like that. That's what I was like, just trying to think. Oh, what problem do I have in my day today? I keep stubbing my toe. Or what about a little toe stub guard on the door? And you see like Dragon's Den and people like that. It's just stuff like that.
You've hit on a good point there, and I do agree with you. But I think maybe we should rephrase it. Rather than solving a problem, it has to be something that creates value for people where they don't already get it, perhaps. So in our case, that would be the pricing that we were able to offer, and that we still do offer, because we buy surplus food.
Do you know what? I'm going to shout. This is a live example. The coffee I'm having at the moment is Beanies flavored coffee, and they sent me this for free because we work with Beanies now, and I absolutely love their coffee. So what's so good about it? Why are Beanies doing so well? It's because it's like a really weird flavor. And it's like I don't know where else I'd be able to get toffee apple flavor instant coffee, and it tastes brilliant.
Yeah.
So the problem they're solving
is
just nice coffee. That's just a bit different.
Yeah, like we said, it's probably more the niche that they're filling. You've got to find something unique, even if it's a business, because there's every idea under the sun's probably been explored at some stage by someone.
Yeah.
So it's not about always reinventing the wheel, but it is about putting your spin on something, doing something in such a way that it's got something that makes it stand out and is unique.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not easy. I mean, it's really. I don't know. I normally swear on the podcast, but I might keep it to a minimum in Instagram Live today. But it's really hard. I don't think people. We say this every week. People must be sick of me going on about this, but it's like it's probably going to fail as well. If you start a business, it's probably not going to happen. The odds are massively not in your favour. What's the odds? Like 80% of businesses don't.
I think so, but I've got a bit of a opinion on this, and it's just anecdotal. It's not based on any sort of evidence that I've got. So it's just completely my musings on it.
Nice coffee, thanks, Bean. It's lovely.
Yes, thank you. I think that a lot, like a fair proportion, like 80%, I'm not saying like most of it, but I think a decent amount of it is, it's not that it's not a good idea, or it's not that it's not going to work in time. It's just, for some people, it's too slow. And that might be down to a lack of patience, but probably more likely down to circumstances like, I've got to pay my bills this month and there's nothing coming in, so I'm just going to pack up and do something else instead. So it's probably a bit of both, but I think persistence is key to get through that. And I think, if you're able to, I think giving it time and patience would probably reduce that 80% figure to what, I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think people spend a lot of money on rubbish as well. So a lot of that, I think a lot of the businesses go out of business early because they either don't set aside enough money to pay tax, or they just spend money on crap and just lose patience, probably.
Yeah, well, we could probably point to some examples there. So what have we done in terms of bootstrapping and making sure that we don't waste our precious budget?
Well, I can show people on Instagram Live. I bought this laptop when I was in my old job for about 250 quid, and I've only just stopped using it. We've only just upgraded to Max, literally like in January. I used this for about 4 years. It's absolutely rubbish, but it just did the job, didn't it?
Yeah. So back then, it looked like us just wearing all hats, didn't it? Bootstrapping marketing, bootstrapping, buying stock, packing the orders, everything, done in-house by us basically for the best part of like two and a bit years.
Yeah.
Until we started to bring people in and start to build a team and stuff like that. And it's not to say that you have to do it like that. And if you've got a much bigger budget, then you can probably afford to outsource some of that stuff. But I think the key message for me is being careful about how you spend your money. And, we're still doing it now to an extent, even though we've, probably established ourselves more as a business and we're growing and stuff like that. Even now, when we show people around our warehouse, there's no, it's not fancy stuff. We've not spent a load of money decking it out with fancy, I don't know, decorations and floors and fancy stuff. That's not to say it's not a good environment to work in. And there's nothing wrong with if you can do that, but I think focusing on things that are actually going to generate either customer satisfaction or revenue or awareness about your business, they're the things that you should focus your resources on in terms of time and money, because money's not the only resource. Time, attention, everything else that goes into the human side of doing anything. Your time and effort and attention, as well as money.
Yeah, absolutely. What did we spend money on when we first started? I think we saved up from our old jobs like 10 grand each, personally, and left our full-time jobs in late 2017. Put 2 grand each into the business account.
Yeah.
What did we spend that on? So did we spend like 100 quid on that stock from a wholesaler?
We spent a few hundred on that. We spent probably under half of it on stock, I think. We started working with Grenade quite early on, and we spent a fair bit of that money on diet protein shakes that are no longer in circulation.
I'd love to see if there's anyone on the live stream that remembers them. That was. I wish I'd kept a case. I know I say this like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't realise our first one of our first brands that we worked with was actually Grenade.
Amazingly.
Yeah, unbelievably. Yeah,
Given where we
I
were
don't know how
at
we
the
did
time.
that. I really don't.
Yeah, and we've alluded to it on here before. I think we've told the story about things like going to exhibitions, saving on travel and costs like that. We've told the story when we walked back from Stansted Airport to a hotel room along a dual carriageway. Just daft things like that save money at the time. But yeah, what did we spend our money on?
Yeah, just stock. We actually our first bit of stock ever was from Suma wholesaler in near Huddersfield, and we bought from their special offer section, and we sold it at a loss or break even, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just to get it on there. And the products were like nut butters. What else was there? Crisps. Because we thought we were going to do gluten-free and vegan stuff. It wasn't really high protein, was it?
Yeah, we had quite a lot of vegan sweets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things like that. Coffee.
Yeah. Because I think at the time, vegan and gluten-free was just getting started and really starting to get somewhere. So we thought, let's go on the back of those coattails and join that surge. So we thought, let's focus on that, because we couldn't start with everything at the start, because you need to focus on a certain thing, otherwise it'd just be a mishmash. And that's why we called ourselves Supermarket, because we knew we'd be doing all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to get a range of stuff that's vegan, gluten free, so we target those customers, and we sold it at a loss, so that people straight away when they went on our website knew that we were going to be a discounter.
Mm-hmm.
No. By the word discount, I mean, we're going to sell a surplus free retailer selling at discounted rates.
Yeah.
Because we backed ourselves to think, well, once we start getting brands on board, it will be surplus food and actually half price from the retail.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just start off on that foot. But we didn't make any money. That was like making a loss, but it was as a strategy at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then high protein sort of started to come into it more and more, and kind of took over as our main niche, really. But I think coming back to the subject of the podcast and the sort of, I don't know, question that we're answering, how to start a business, I think we've hit on something quite important there, which is that when you start, you need a focus area. You need sort of a niche to fit into. If you try and be all things to all people from day one, you're kind of spreading yourself a little bit too thin, in my opinion. So what we did by going for that sort of quite niche area, albeit we were hoping to build towards, a range of different products, and, you could almost come to us to buy almost anything, which is a point that we're still aiming for, and we're aiming to get to in the future. But I think at that point, we had to focus, because you have to have something that draws people in and people identify with. If you just too random, we probably were too random, to be fair, because our selection of products at that point were quite random, but we didn't really know what we were doing at that point. So I'd say two things come out of that, really, is have a niche that actually people will identify with and go, oh, that looks like me. I look like that kind of consumer.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, having that faith to take chances, even if you don't really know what you're doing, and to go for it. And that's what we did. We didn't know whether that would work out for us or not. But you have to do something to launch. You can be too tied up in ifs, buts, and maybes, and what ifs, and all this sort of stuff, and indecision. Yeah, I think we set ourselves a launch date as well. Another important thing, I think, setting yourself deadlines. Now that you are in business and you no longer work for somebody, setting yourself deadlines and being disciplined. We set up a launch date, and that gave us that discipline to go, by that date, we've got to have products on there. Because if we don't, there's nothing, we're a retailer and we've got nothing to sell.
Yes.
So it forced action and decision.
Yeah, it was rubbish, our first website as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, so that's probably a flip side of something that we mentioned earlier about bootstrapping, where probably we tried to do too much.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Tried to save too much as well, because we went for a WordPress site, which is, inexpensive to set up and stuff like that. But actually, it came back to bite us, because it broke down. It didn't work properly. The systems weren't as good within it and stuff like that. And we ended up transporting over to Shopify.
Yes.
Which is a bit more expensive. You have to pay a bit more out to get it set up and stuff like that. But we should have probably just taken that decision from day one. But we learned from it, didn't we?
I didn't know why we did. I'd never heard of Shopify, to be fair. My mate Sean, who's actually, shout out to Sean and Charlotte, Super You, on Dragon's Den tonight, by the way. Don't know if
tonight, is it?
Yeah, tonight. He's coming on the podcast.
Which is Thursday.
Yes, they're coming on the podcast next week, Sean and Charlotte. People don't know this, but I don't know if people have heard of Super You, but it's like Sean's one of my best mates, and we started at a similar time. So Super You, look them up on Instagram. You'll see them all tonight anyway. And he was saying to me, oh, we're getting a Shopify site. You get one as well. And I was like, I've never even heard of Shopify. It sounds rubbish. I'm doing a WordPress one. It was just like, I thought I knew what I was doing, building a website, and I just don't. That's all. And it was dreadful.
A little bit of hubris, a bit of ignorance, maybe.
A little bit, yeah. Which I'm quite accustomed to.
But it's also an acceptance of mistakes, and knowing that not everything you do is going to work.
Yeah.
You probably didn't think that at the time because you probably thought, well, it will work. That's why I'm doing it. But we were quickly able to move on from it, which is an important thing, I think.
Yeah, you've got to be open to stuff going wrong, haven't you?
Yeah, and to be able to recover from it and move on. So we actually, when our first website failed, this is 3-4 months after we first launched, we were just starting to get some sales, starting to get somewhere, and the website completely just didn't work. It just broke. And I know there's an irony in that because some people that are struggling with our current website, which we are changing, by the way, not away from Shopify, but we're just changing things around so that it works. Anyway, point being, we had to go offline for a week to sort it, didn't we? Because it just stopped functioning, like the back end of it and stuff. We couldn't see orders properly and all that sort of thing. So, and I think we spoke about that in episode, is it 6? When just me and you last time, when we answered some questions about one of them was about our biggest failures. That's definitely one of them.
We had a couple of questions come through, actually. As COVID eases, do you not worry you'll lose access to as much surplus stock? Our suppliers simply won't have it. No, Scott, thanks for that question. Surplus is
an interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a really good question, actually. Surplus is, if anything, surplus might increase after COVID, because forecasting, surplus is pretty much always going to be there because of forecasting. And it's impossible to get forecasting right. It doesn't even matter if it was COVID or before COVID.
I think the position that we're in at the minute is initially when the pandemic took everyone by surprise, that did increase the amount of surplus because obviously everything shut down. Like a lot of retail outlets shut down, and that created more stock that needed to be put into other channels such as us, into other areas.
Yeah.
But then we've now got into this stage where people have reined it in. They've become more cautious because they know now what the situation is, and they know that we're in sort of lockdowns and semi-lockdowns and whatever else.
Yeah.
So actually, the supply for us has, gone quieter. But I think as things start to open up again, people are going to be planning ahead now, I would imagine. Now that we know the sort of map out of this situation, people are going to be planning ahead and forecasting for, gradual return to normality.
Yeah.
So again, when that's the case, as we all know, anything can affect a forecast. Even a delivery not arriving into a retailer on time can create problems. So these little everyday things are kind of a bit of an inevitability of such a huge industry and such a huge complicated supply chain. So I think we're actually when we get back to normality, I think it'll actually probably, go back to how we were before, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
From a position now where there's a lot of caution around, understandably.
Yeah, it's a weird one at the minute. Like a lot of our short dates are longer than they used to be. Like our fulfill stuff at the moment is November, October, and therefore it's a higher price. We had a couple of comments on Facebook. It was like, food circle now that they're getting bigger, put the prices up. It's like to make more money. It just couldn't be further from the truth. It's like, if stock's longer dated, we pay more for it.
Yeah,
So
well, stock with a longer date on it is worth more money.
Exactly.
That's like any, if you've got a brand new car that's not been driven a mile, it's worth more than the same car that's 10 years old and the old model. That's just the way the world is. So longer dated stock that's fresher, we say fresher because there's nothing wrong with it when it's short dated, but it's a higher cost to us, and therefore to actually stay in business we have to increase prices sometimes, but that fluctuates. You'll see some stuff soon that's more in line with previous pricing because that's shorter dated, and that's just how it works.
Someone's asked, are we getting full 55 gram bars back in? Yes, we are getting a very, very limited drop in next week. We commence in the 12th, which is more important because that week's more important because beer gardens reopened. But other than that, we're getting fulfill a very limited drop. So we're going to have to be careful with that because people might
miss out.
Yeah, miss out. So we are.
We don't want to create too much hype or any panic or anything like that. But
we learned from that mistake before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. If you build people's expectations up too much and they miss out, it's obviously disappointing. Yeah. But it's a fine balance to strike because we've got to let people know it's there. Because if people miss out through just not being told about it, then that's annoying as well. So we've got to tell people, but not over egg it too much, because if you miss out, you're disappointed.
So back to how to start a business. So you got to be really careful with your money. If you've got no cash, you've got no business. So you got to treat your cash like every penny counts. Is my piece of advice. Make sure you're spending money, especially in the early days, on stuff that's going to make you money, basically. And you don't even have to turn a profit. Like we hear from people who ask us about business and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not making enough profit in the early days." It's like, Christ, it's not the last thing that's on your mind. Obviously, you don't want to be losing money, but you don't need to agonize about how much profit you make at the start.
Well, you don't need to be agonizing between 20% and 25%. I don't think.
Exactly.
I think it's a matter of
break even.
You've got to keep your head above water. You've got to stay afloat. But I think your main priority, and the thing that we made into our priority, which I look back on and think that was a good call, was customer satisfaction, 100%. And that's something we still obviously do now and strive for now. It's not something that we've forgotten about. In fact, we've invested in it more over the past few months and time that we've been going. But I think, like you've got to treat your early customers like gold dust, basically, like royalty, because they're the people that are going to be talking about you. And if you get off onto a bad start when only a few people know about you, it's gonna limit your chances of growing. I think you got to have empathy towards people and customers 100% and not treat them as like a number. Especially, we still do that now, like you just said. Like, genuinely, any customer that gets in touch with us, we treat them like they're our best mate, and it's on purpose. And that's reflected in our Trustpilot reviews. It's like we generally, it's our number one priority. Because businesses just take customers for granted, and it's a massive mistake. Especially once you start getting to where we are now, we might have that attitude. It's like, oh, if this customer's annoyed, whatever, because we've got thousands of others. But generally, that's the worst thing. That's the worst attitude you can have. And unfortunately, a lot of customers do that. Businesses do,
Sorry, a lot of businesses do,
I think it's your culture and it's the habits that you get into, and if you start letting that set in, then it's one thing leads to another. I suppose it's like a domino effect. You treat one customer like they don't matter, and that then permeates, I think, in your business, and that's something to avoid. At the same time, you can never please everybody all the time, but we try and take that approach of, everybody's welcome. We treat everybody the same. We try to make sure that people, even if something goes wrong or there's something bad about the experience, that we try and make it a good experience, at least by responding the right way and stuff like that. And even if we can't help, at least the least we can do is leave them with a sense of, well, they've actually tried and they've, done their best.
But anyway, so you start to get, because if you treat customers right, you get very loyal customers, which we're very fortunate to have. So treat customers like gold, manage your cash, try and stay above water. But your absolute priority as you start your business is getting your name out there, getting customers, hammering social media and getting, just getting content out so people know about you, never mind how much profit you're making.
Yeah, well, it's probably that's quite an important thing you've touched on there, which we've got like 3 audiences now for this, because we've got a video podcast that goes on YouTube, we've got an audio one that goes on Spotify and Apple and everything else, and we've got an Instagram live audience. So only the YouTube folks will be able to see, but Gary Vaynerchuk is there. There's a picture of him in our office with a slogan on there. And, I suppose his message of take advantage of social media. We're in the digital age. People are on these things, their phones, all the time. And I'd say an online presence, even if you're not an online business or an online retailer like we are, some sort of online presence is just essential.
Yes. I am really sorry to anyone that does watch this on YouTube, because I'm one of them people that can't keep still. So it must be painful to watch me rocking and moving constantly. So yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, exactly. Gary Vee's an absolute beast. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, he was huge for us.
Yeah,
still is.
That's probably another area that we can
Facebook
sort of talk about. Yeah, social media advertising and pay-per-click advertising in general. That's where the attention is. So that's where you need to be if you're an online business.
That was a turning point for us, Facebook ads, definitely.
And Instagram as well.
We in the early days we tested out different types of marketing. So we sold gluten-free stuff. We did market stalls, which were a disaster, by the way. We had about 2 sales, but in the sales that we had, we got to speak to people and find out who they are, and they tended to be like middle-aged women, didn't they, that bought from us. So we were like, well, how come? And they were gluten-free celiacs. So, and they were saying
household buyers, I would say. People that are buying for a household.
Yeah,
in general.
So we were like, well, we don't really want to be doing market stalls all the time. We're an internet retailer. We want to be targeting people on the internet. Where are these people going? So you've got to think about. You got to put yourself in the shoes of your customer. We only had 2 or 3 customers, but then that's enough, because then you can go, right, where are these people going? And then we found Celiac UK, didn't we? And they were like a gluten. What are they?
They're a charity. I suppose it's like. They're a charitable society for the gluten-free celiac community, and they distribute information and run campaigns and do research into celiac disease.
Yeah.
So we approached them. That was an early marketing kind of in for us, really, for want of a better word.
Yeah, that was massive, because what was it? What was it, like £100 to go out to on their newsletter? I think it was like 10,000 people on it. Celiac actually thought, right, let's get a really short ad done. They helped us actually do a billion Celiac UK, by the way. I said, right, we'll put you on our monthly newsletter, and it worked, didn't it? We got loads of customers. By loads, must have been like 20, but that was massive for us at the time. And then we thought, well, how can we target these people? That's not through a weekly or bi-weekly newsletter. How can we target them all the time on the internet? Facebook ads, you can target interests, which was meant at the time. Facebook ads were a lot cheaper than they are now, and a lot easier to get out to people. So we were like, let's just put gluten-free, celiac disease, gluten-free eating as the interests, the age of the people that we tend to get orders from, and demographic. Let's target them on ads. There you go, and it started to work, didn't it?
Yeah, it's all data driven. I think being in charge of your data and knowing who your market is and who's interested in what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's key to it. And I think probably that comes into something else. Like, that's a piece of advice, I suppose, in a way, that we picked up online from sort of an online content creator, or sort of an online mentor who doesn't know us, but we very much consume their content, which probably leads into another. There's loads of points coming out of this, but advice and help and support is another part of starting a business, and I think it's something that we can speak to, because we've had all sides of it, I guess, from good advice, bad advice, indifferent advice. What would your main takeaways
Grillings.
be? Yeah, what would your main takeaway be on the support and advice front, and where you get help from and all that sort of thing?
Seek advice from people who've been there and done it. 100%. If there's So if you're starting a business in, I don't know, sandwich industry, find someone in the sandwich industry that's a nice person who's not really going to be like a direct competitor or a friendly competitor, and see if they can speak to them.
Yeah.
Have some time with them and get people who have done it, not people that haven't been there and done it and are telling you how the surplus food industry works when they don't know anything about the surplus or e-commerce.
Yeah.
And if you're getting grilled, if you're getting like leathered, because people will say your idea is rubbish and it's not going to work, I guarantee it. If that is happening, just like take a step back and think, right, where's this person coming from? What does this person know? Is this person Jeff Bezos or, someone that's hammered it in my industry? No, then take it with a massive pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Would be my advice. And that is something we did do.
Yeah.
Because we did get told it was not going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a, I don't know, what's the word, a bit of a worry, a bit of a concern if, because some of the advice that we've had, or not even advice, just people kind of telling us things that turned out not to be kind of the best advice, or sort of writing us off, or sending sort of negativity our way. Got to be careful about that, because I do worry that it puts people off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And we can all be vulnerable to that, I think, at times. So yeah, it is really important to think about where advice and information is coming from. I don't want to turn this into like a cathartic kind of therapy session where I'm getting off my chest where we've been criticised and stuff like that, because sometimes criticism is needed and it's valid, but I think sometimes it's down to people's opinions, and you got to look at where that opinion's coming from. Yeah,
definitely. Well, we were getting leathered, and when we were really struggling at the start, just didn't need it, did we? But
No.
You've just got to be confident. Confidence is massive, I think, in life in general. If you're not confident, stuff like that's really going to get to you, and you're just probably going to pack it in. You've just got to be confident in yourself and what you know and all this sort of stuff. If we were starting a business in books, and someone was laying into us about our book business, it'd probably have got to me. But because it was surplus food and we know our stuff, I was just like, whatever, you're just talking rubbish.
Yeah.
It's just not bothered. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess confidence comes from knowing that you sort of know your subject matter.
Yeah, exactly.
If you like.
Yeah.
I suppose if you it's like anything. If we've all been in exams at school, and if you go into it and you've not tried and you've not revised and stuff, you're probably not going into it the most confident.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know it and you've looked into it and you've put the work in, I guess you go into it with a lot more confidence, because you sort of know how it works. And if someone says something that you are considering, but actually they're doing it from a position of not knowing that industry, then it's just their opinion, really, and it might not be based on much.
Exactly. You'll get people get great advice as well, and great support, which is important as well.
Yeah, and
definitely.
I think there are services out there that are very good for that anybody can access, that are good for like how to actually start, how to set up a company and set up a business bank account and stuff like that. But I think if you're looking for specific advice to a business or an industry, people that have been there and done it are the best place to go, I think. And you'd be surprised at how generous people are with their time. You can get people who are paid a lot of money to consult by the hour that'll give you an hour for free if you buy them a cup of coffee or whatever. As long as you approach it in the right way, which, we always say, don't we? People do business with people, and if you build that personal rapport, it goes a long way, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had good advice. We had really terrible advice, but you've just got to roll with the punch, haven't you?
Absolutely.
And then test and learn. When you're in the early days, about testing stuff and learning and being prepared to fail, because you will fail. Like we fail still.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah. Well, testing and learning is an important one as well. You've got to try things, and you've got to recognise if they're working or if they're not.
Yeah.
And that'll be obvious in a lot of ways, because if something's working because you're growing or you're getting more customers or whatever it might be. But if something's not working, it's about recognising that at the right time, early enough that you don't let it kind of derail what you're doing, or you don't spend too much money on it or whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of money, we've had a question: are you raising capital? And do you need to raise capital actually in the early days? Because a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm starting a business, right? Crowdfunding, here we go." Before you've even started.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've not raised anything in terms of capital. We've had a couple of small loans and stuff like that to help us get started. And but other than that, no, we've not raised capital. Are we looking to? Probably not for now, to be honest. I think we've got a lot of room to optimize what we're doing already. We've got, we're a healthy business that's not in desperate need of cash to grow from someone else. Basically, we're growing it organically, and it's been working well for us so far. So actually, to give up any of that control, if you like, or a percentage kind of share or whatever, we don't actually need to at this point. And that's not knocking raising capital or raising investment or anything like that. I think it's just something that we've not needed up to this point.
People won't know this, but we were so close to crowdfunding last year.
We went to see a couple of the main crowdfunding companies, probably just before the pandemic last year.
Yeah,
early last year, and we decided not to go ahead with it in the end. And then, obviously, what came out of that was the pandemic, where we grew quite a lot as a result of that. Not all down to that, but partly. And actually, probably reflect on it as a good decision.
Yes.
Not to go down that road.
Yeah, it was
at that point in time. That's, again, not to knock crowdfunding, because it's great.
We were really close. We were literally setting up, getting the video stuff sorted and all that, weren't we? And then COVID hit, and we just got mentally busy. So we thought we don't need to now. But yeah, we were so close. We actually approached Oliver Cookson as well for finance in the early days. We'd literally, I don't know why we did that. We turned over $1,000, and Oliver Cookson's the My Protein founder, isn't he? Yeah, he's got a podcast actually.
Yeah,
we might try and get him on here one day. We'll see if he's up for it. So yeah, we approached Oliver, and I remember Oliver emailing us, or his assistant. We sent him a parcel, didn't we, of stuff, because I managed to find out where one of his companies was based. And we sent him a parcel in a letter, and the response we had back was, he's a really good guy actually, Oliver. We spoke to him a couple of times since. And he said, good luck with the venture. Will you come back to me when you've turned over $500,000 and we can talk then? And I was like, bloody hell.
And we were miles away from that at that point.
God, yeah, amazing.
So it's kind of that catch-22.
It's a good point as well, wasn't it?
It was. We were too early and we were too naive, really. But it's a bit of a catch-22, because actually, by the point that you've got to where they want you to be at, you don't necessarily need it as much, or you're not as desperate for it, unless you've got a plan to, in some businesses, less so in ours probably, but in some businesses you're like, well, we need X amount of money to invest in this thing that's going to get us to there. Less the case in our business. We've got stock that's sort of moving and turning all the time. But in certain businesses, it'd be like, we need $100,000 for this machine to produce this, and that means that we can do that.
Yeah.
Obviously being very vague, but
yes,
it's just how different businesses work. So for some businesses it's more important than others. Like tech businesses is a classic one. Silicon Valley, you go and raise capital because you want to develop an app, and you can't just develop an app from £500 in your bank account necessarily.
No,
maybe you can, but I don't think many do.
No, definitely not.
So
capital is important, and cash.
Cash is the most important.
Cash is important. Sorry, capital. Definitely. And once you get started and you start to get a few customers, it's about keeping them happy, innit? And word of mouth's really important as well.
Yeah.
And then just trying to scale up is scaling up's not easy, really, is it? I mean, you have to take some risks when you start scaling up, especially if you're selling stock, or if you've got a brand that you started. You need to start, upping the volume and taking a few risks here and there.
Yeah, we talked about this with Laura Crisps,
Yes.
Daniela, and Natalia as
Yep.
well, where it's kind of like stairs, if you know what I mean. Like you step up and then your other foot kind of has to catch up. You know what I mean? You take these like jumps, take a bit more of a risk that time, you catch up. You take a bit more of a risk, you catch up. So, perfect example. When we first got our storage premises, we didn't have the income coming in every month to afford it. Might not be a great example because the premises itself doesn't generate you any income, but actually, what it allowed us to do and capacity and stuff like that is increase our sales, and then we sort of cut up to a level where we could afford it, and then went past that. And then you get to the next stage where you're like, well, we need a bigger premises. And you take that other jump and you future-proof it and you get somewhere that's big enough to last you a while. And then you get up to a point, and if you grow, you outgrow that place. And it's like things are never like smooth and even. It's not just a straight line. Everything's always take one step up, business catches up and fills. It's like I don't know. It's like filling up a glass of water, I suppose. You fill it up and it gradually fills up and finds all that space in there, and then it's probably a really bad analogy. and then it overflows, and then you have to get a bigger glass, and then you start filling that one up again, and all the space gets filled. It's like that. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to constantly. It's like a game of catch up all the time, isn't it? And you need to take risks. There's never a point where you go, "Oh, right, we've done it now." So.
No. You're stepping up and then you consolidate and you sell for a bit, and then it's like, well, if you want to grow, you've got to go again. Yeah. And it's not always about growth for everyone. Some people might be happy getting to a certain level and being like, I just want to stay there and consolidate and, respect to you if that's where you get to. But if you wanted to grow, it's that process of, like I said, constantly, you're not just standing still, you're moving forward, your business fills those gaps and catches up.
Yeah,
you move forward again, and it's just constantly that stepping forward all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you got to keep pushing the business, haven't you? And then you get to a point where you need to start employing people.
Yeah, well, we might be stepping on the toes of a future episode about scaling a business, but definitely, yeah. Like if you want to start and scale, there comes a point where you can't do everything yourself, and you either have to outsource or you have to bring people in to do stuff. And then it's about finding good people and creating an atmosphere where it's good for them to work and incentivizing them and everything else that goes with that. So shout out to our team, by the way, who are doing a fabulous job.
Yeah. How many premises have we had then? So we started, our first ever premises was a free premises in city centre, Sheffield, given to us by the uni, Sheffield Hallam Uni.
Just an office, no storage.
Office, no storage. We stored stuff at our garages.
And that was a result of my alumni connection to
I'm alumni
to
as well, but they
Sheffield
never recognise it.
No, you're Huddersfield alumni.
Well, I did do a foundation course through Hallam, but they don't. It's never appreciated.
Anyway, so that was number one, and we were there for about 6 months, and the difficulty of that was having stock in a different place to where we were actually based, which we could actually survive initially because we had no orders, but it came to a point where we needed to have everything under one roof. So then we had another premises, which we struggled with location-wise to find somewhere that suited us, so we ended up out near Barnsley, which didn't really work for us, but
miles away.
It needs must at the time. And then we got another one closer to where we are now in Dinnington.
Shout out to Dinnington, massive.
Yes. And then we ended up with several units there because we kept outgrowing each one as we added them on.
God.
So we've moved quite a few times. So we had 2 different main units there, and then a few others that we had to rent sort of off the back of that, and then came here. So I'd say in total we've had probably 5 moves, haven't we? Four or 5 moves.
Yeah, this time next year we might need to do another one. God, it gets out of control as well, doesn't it? It starts to spiral out, because especially if you got not got enough people in, it starts to get a bit all on top.
Yeah, well, it's knowing
what happened to us this time last year.
Yeah, it's knowing when to deploy that, and it's like what we said before. It's about sort of scaling up and sizing up your operations to to fit where you're going to get to, and then your business catches up to that, and then you do it again.
Yeah.
So we've done that a couple of times because we obviously hired one person initially, and then that became 3, and then 4, and 5.
Yeah. 6.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Can't really say any more on that.
Madness. I think most people are at work, to be honest, today, so we're not getting that many questions. A few more people join. So I'll keep the live stream going for now, for the next maybe 10 minutes. Can't even see me because I'm leaning so far back in my chair.
It looks like I'm just talking to myself.
I look like I'm laid down here. Oh, dearie me. So yeah, how to start a business. So cash, these are the key takeaways. Keep your cash maintained.
We could make them alliterative. We can make them all C's. Cash, customers.
Social media.
No.
Social with
we
a
can't.
C.
We can't do it. No.
We can't do it now. Social media is massive. What else is there? Consistent with your offering. That's a C. And yeah, just treating,
calculated risk.
Calculated risks, yeah, for sure. And just confidence. As looking after yourself. You got to look after your body. You got to look after your mind.
Go on. Let's talk a bit more about that. So you've got a passion, an obsession at the minute that's kind of to do with looking after yourself.
Well, running. Gee, it's not looking after me. I've just been speaking to our lovely colleague Emma about my knee because it's knackered earlier. Yeah, so yeah, you got to look after yourself. I like running. Running works for me. Yeah, I love it. It's brilliant. It's such a nice break, and it's good for you as well. But I hated it. And there'll be people listening and go, "Oh, running. I hate running. I used to hate it."
It's not just about that though. It's about sleep. It's about
sleep. Yeah.
Resting enough. It's about mentally creating headspace, if you like, which is difficult. It's taken us a couple of years to actually own our weekends or own our free time instead of just thinking about. I mean, you've only just turned our Shopify notifications off on your phone, which I did a while ago, just so that you can actually have a bit of a rest sometimes.
Yeah, you need to go.
Which you need.
It's a bad idea
for
keeping
balance.
them on.
Yeah,
bad idea. If anyone's got a Shopify website, they'll know what we're talking about. Like, it's addictive as well. Those notifications.
Yeah, and
turn them off.
A good piece of advice we received about that is you often come up with your best ideas and you're more creative when you're relaxed and you're not stressing or worrying or thinking about business or thinking about numbers or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Turn
them off.
Taking a step back, sometimes managing your own time.
Yep.
And life.
Yeah, definitely. You need to have a break, don't you? Because you end up working. I can't put into words how much you need to work when you start a business. I can't even explain how much work you need to do, and you need to be prepared to do that. Like literally, constantly working. Yeah. Until you get to the point where we've just hit now, where we can have like the odd day off now, or morning off, or something like that. We've literally just got to that point, and it's almost 4 years in. Yeah, you've got to work all the time.
Yeah,
which is unhealthy. And by work, I don't mean literally sat doing emails 24 hours. I mean, like it's never off your mind. You've got to be ready to email a customer, or you've got to be just on it 20 all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember some of the early things we did, and it's like ridiculous because like you physically work as well just to make stuff happen. Like we were doing those market stalls you were talking about, and I remember like lugging big crates of stock across Sheffield on foot, like to get it to these stalls and stuff like that. And we'd sell nothing all day, pack it all up again and leave. And we had like energy drink cans which are heavy and stuff like that, and those shakes we were talking about. And you put yourself through it. You're like, I remember like walking around Sheffield, lugging this stuff around, sweating, and God knows what.
Last year, this time last year, it was just still me and James, and I had to get my dad in actually to help us to pack orders. And we were packing hundreds of orders a day, weren't we? Every day, while still running the business. And we're absolutely knackered.
We had to work in shifts, didn't we?
Yeah, I know people are probably listening, whatever, it must have been terrible, that. But honestly, it does you in. Mentally, running the business is exhausting. I mean, I don't even know if I could keep going. You've got to be ready for it because
Yeah.
If you're not prepared for how hard it is and how tiring it's going to be, you've just got no chance.
And that's why negativity and like, criticism that we've put our prices up and got greedy and stuff like that can hurt a little bit because you put so much work into something and you're trying your best and you're trying to make your customers happy. And that's why it can sting a little bit when people sort of make out that you've got bad intentions. I know it doesn't bother you anywhere near as much as probably it does me, but that's why it can sting a little bit because you put so much into it. But you can't always please everyone, and it's important to remember that.
Absolutely. Yeah. My fiance, Neeks, remember the markets in the snow? It was miserable. Oh, that was horrible, that, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is it, roping family into it and getting them to help, and
weekends and stuff.
Roping everybody that you know into helping you out on and these crazy things that you do.
We did a market stall on a snow day, didn't we, in Sheffield? I don't think we had one customer.
No.
Nobody.
Nobody even passed through because probably buses weren't running and trams weren't running and stuff like that. So we were just...
Last question, I'll turn off the live stream. We'll finish up the podcast. Do you guys, this is from Lewis, my mate, do you guys now have set working days at hours? Not really, no. Wouldn't have said so.
We have a team here that do.
The
generally orbits around that in a way.
Yeah.
But for us, I think it's one of those things that it never really starts and ends. It kind of quite open-ended, really. We obviously, if we need to do stuff at night, I usually edit this podcast at night because it's when I've got a bit of peace and quiet on my own to do it. Or, certain things that you've not managed to get done when you're in during a day where, there's people here that, need our guidance and our help sometimes. And that can fill up a lot, quite a lot of your time. And that's not a negative thing. That's just the way that it is. And so we try and be flexible with it, but equally on that score, I guess it's the beauty of being your own boss kind of thing, or having your own businesses. You can kind of try and work it around your life as much as you can. Like if I think Daniela talked about it from Loro Crisps. Like she's not, I don't know if she said she was or not a morning person, but she tends to work either like early mornings or starts late and works all evening type thing, because it depends on what suits different people.
Yes.
But we do have a bit of a structure, but generally, like, the beauty of it is you're not dictated to by somebody else. It's more dictated to by your customers and your market, I suppose, because
yourself. We have
a team here that can't, we can't have people packing orders when no couriers are collecting and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but we have enough flexibility to work around things, but we do have a core sort of working week, don't we, for our team and stuff like that.
You start to get used to a bit of a routine. You need to have some kind of routine, but when you're running the business, it is, you're pretty much always online, to be fair. You need to force yourself to have a break. So I don't want to make out that it's horrible starting a business and because to be fair, sometimes it is, but like the majority of the time, it's enjoyable and you're building something and you're in charge of your own destiny, your own financial destiny, which is irreplaceable. And that's what life's all about for me.
Yeah.
You can't really beat that.
Yeah,
it is hard.
There's two sides to it, I suppose, because you've got to be self-motivated enough to get out of bed in the morning. Like, I think people maybe, I don't know, an outside perception might be, it must be great because you can just get up whenever you want. And if you don't feel like working that day, you don't have to or whatever. And there is a little element of that flexibility, but it's not really like that. Like I'm, unless there's like bad traffic or whatever, I'm never here past 9:30 or whatever, 9 o'clock even. It's like getting into a routine. Having that discipline is important. You've got to have discipline in everything that you do, and if it's not coming from somebody else, it's got to come from yourself. And I guess you become accountable to people around you as well. Like if you've got a co-founder and you've got a team of people, or you've got even one employee, you become kind of accountable to them as well. Which we are.
Yeah.
We can't just, not that we'd want to anyway, but you can't just we can't just sit in here with our feet up.
No.
You know.
Which I do anyway, but I am working when I do.
Yeah. Or, well, we can't just sit here not working or having a snooze or whatever, because there's people that are here to work, to, you know, do other jobs that we can't do or we've not got time to do. And we're accountable to them to show up and be the best version of ourselves as well. Yeah. Which sounds cheesy. It probably is. But, you know, you've got to sort of have your game face on, I suppose.
Game face mode activated.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's one way to shut me up, because I feel like I've been talking for about 20 minutes without stopping. Sorry about that. You talk for a bit now.
What I was going to say now, I think the last 2 points, that you've got to sacrifice a lot if you want it to work, especially if you're like already got a job. You can't afford to leave a full-time job like we did. You want to start a business whilst you're working. You need to make the most of the time when you're not doing your job that you're being paid for, instead of pissing around playing on Call of Duty for 3 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to sacrifice stuff like that, or saving money. You've got to start saving money. How do you do that? Well, you sacrifice crap. You know, don't buy a bloody Supreme backpack or whatever for 200 quid. All that sort of bullshit. You've got to.
Yeah, I mean,
it depends how bad people want it as well. The problem is people go, "Oh, it's my dream to start a business," and then when it comes to it and they realise they've got to actually work really, really hard, it's like, oh, it's too hard. And it's like, well, I thought you really wanted to start a business. Yeah,
I mean, this is not to criticise people, because we all have different passions, but I consider myself fortunate in a way that I'm not interested in like expensive clothes or luxury cars or anything like that. So when it came to it for me, like, would I rather save money into a business or spend 500 quid a month on a BMW or whatever?
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer for me. I know that some people do have that interest and that passion, and that's fair enough. But I think something has to give at some stage. If you really that badly want it, you know, you'd be happy to drive around in a Honda
and live at your
for a few years or whatever, or live at your mum and dad's, which is what we had to do.
Yeah. I'm literally moving out my mum and dad's next week, and I'm 29. That's what it takes, and it's grim. That's the sort of thing. That's the sort of sacrifice I'm talking about. And the reason I was willing to do that, and you were willing to do that, is because you wanted it so badly. And the thought of the business not working for me is torture and painful. Having to go and work for someone, like, it's literally not an option. That's why. That's when the sacrifice comes in, because it's like if this not doing this business, the other outcome is horrendous. So I've got to. But the problem is people like just don't want it badly enough. Yeah. It's just like, I can't be bothered. So
from your perspective, what do you think you would have done if, like, we'd have got to a year or year and a half in, this is just clearly not working? What do you think? Yeah. What do you think you would have done next? Start from scratch?
Yeah, probably.
Or just pivot?
Yeah, probably. But I never thought it wasn't going to work.
No.
I was absolutely convinced.
That's true. I mean, I've never had an alternative plan myself. I just wondered you.
Yeah. No, well, I was looking at Deliveroo jobs, wasn't I?
Yeah, but that's just like a temporary thing. But I mean, like longer term, where do you turn?
Don't know. I would have thought something. There's no way I would have gone and got a job. It just depends on how people are wired. Some people don't want to start a business, and they think, you know, it's the last thing they want to do is take a risk where they don't know what their income's going to be and stuff like that. Yeah. There's other people, I think you can be naturally drawn to it. Like, I definitely was. So it's like, I just can't do anything else. I've got to.
Yeah. I think it's, like you say, it's different. Some people are happy to work to live, and kind of, if they've got good holidays and decent pay, that's enough for them. But for some people, you know, they want that more kind of risk, I suppose, more involvement, more control.
You got to ask yourself, if you're more looking think of starting a business now, you got to ask yourself, how badly do you want it and want it to work? That's what it comes down to you at the end of the day. And if you think, shall I move into my mum and dad's and live there till I'm 30? What would my mates say? My mates might take the mick out of me. If you're thinking like that, and then it's not going to happen. You don't want it enough. Yeah. As if you're like, I don't give a shit what my mates say. I don't care if, you know, I'm walking around in George clothes instead of stuff like that, or clothes that I bought 3 years ago. And if I don't care about that, then you've got the right mindset.
Yeah, well, we can see that, mate, because you look absolutely terrible. No, I'm joking. I'm just kidding. I've got absolutely no place to have a go at anyone's clobber.
Yeah, same.
This is actually, I bought this second hand from Depop.
James is wearing George.
It is Converse. It's Asda version. No, it's not. It's Aldi version. No, it is Converse, but I bought it for like a £5 off Depop or something, or eBay or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not I don't know, it sounds braggy, doesn't it? Like, oh, I'm so like not bothered about it. I'm so different to everyone else. I'm not. It's just I consider myself quite I don't know, lucky that I've not got into any of that stuff really. Yeah. Probably just through ignorance, not really knowing or caring about it that much.
Yes. Yeah, you've got to not worry about what other people think. I think that's massively important.
Yeah, and you know, on like financial commitments and stuff like that, I suppose if you're, I don't know, sometimes people end up, and I'm not criticizing anybody or judging, but I suppose some people end up tied to a job just to pay for
nonsense
things that, you know, like, I don't know, in some cases, like if you really want a fancy car to impress people, like a Mercedes or whatever, I think sometimes people can get into that trap of they're tied into a financial commitment. They need to keep the job just to pay for that thing that's getting them to that job.
Yeah,
and it's that cycle of like you're working to just get the thing that gets you to work instead of working to build something and to plan for the future and to create some sort of
patience in it.
Not just create wealth or, you know, create some sort of financial freedom, but satisfaction and, you know, you sort of when you reflect on where you are and what you're doing, do you feel good about it? Do you feel passionate about it?
Yeah. There's a lot of complaining that goes on as well, isn't there? Like, you know, woe is me sort of stuff about not being able to start a business. You know, oh, you're able to live at your mum and dad's, I can't because I've got a mortgage and kids. It's like, well, you can still start a business. Again, how bad do you want it? You've got your mortgage and kids, keep your job, work in the evenings instead of watching Netflix. Do that for a year.
Yeah, it takes a different way, I suppose. Or, you know, generate something, get something going through, you know, it might just be a side project. You might be, you know, reselling furniture off Facebook Marketplace or clearing your wardrobe out that's full of stuff that you don't wear and selling that or whatever it might be. I guess there's a million ways to do anything, isn't there? There's more than one way to skin a cat, as people say. So I don't know. I've not been in that position myself, so I can't really speak to it fully. But there must be a way to do it if you're not as free as maybe we were at the ages we were at when we started and stuff like that.
There definitely is a way to do it because people have done it. Start to think of, is there someone that looks like you that's been there and done it? If there is, you can do it. It's such a true saying that.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of people that start businesses in the 40s. Ricky Gervais didn't write The Office until he was 41.
Yep. Good one. So, what else is there?
I know it's not a business, but it just shows you that it's never too late, I suppose.
Jerry Morell, Five Guys founder. He was 58, I think. 3 kids. 5 kids. No, 4 kids. Five Guys is called Five Guys because it's Jerry and his 4 sons.
Yeah.
And so he had 4 kids. And he was 58, left his job. What was he, an accountant or something? Or a lawyer?
Something like that.
And he hated it.
Professional, yeah.
And he just started a burger joint in Washington or Virginia, I can't remember where it is. And and he was like 50 odd.
Yeah. Didn't the airline guy do that as well?
Airline guy.
He died last year or the year before.
Southwest.
Herb Kelleher, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, has he died?
I think he died last year or the year before. I don't think he started.
He was a lawyer.
I'm going to look it up, actually. It's not like Rogan where you've got someone to do it for you.
I'll do it, mate. I'll pull that up. Jamie, pull that shit up. Herb Kelleher. Yeah, Herbert Kelleher, a billionaire airline owner.
He died at 87. And he started Southwest.
People might know what it is because it's an American airline, isn't it?
Yeah.
God.
I'm sure he started quite late. I might be wrong about that. I might be confusing it with...
1971, so he was 50.
Yeah.
Madness.
started a business at 50 and, died at 87, a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Just shows you, doesn't it? If you're 50,
Yeah.
You might have 40 years left.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Which
true.
is mad.
Yeah, I know. People, I think there's just so much complaining and all that sort of stuff that goes on. I know I sound like a bit of a dick saying this, but people just need to realise, look at things I've got and try and create an opportunity instead of creating barriers, in my opinion.
Yeah, but on the flip side, we must, say and acknowledge that, we know people. We know one person in particular at the minute who's starting a business.
Yeah.
Who's just left their job. They've got kids.
Yes.
They've got a house, etc., etc. And it's a brave
very
move.
brave. Christ.
Shout out to Andrew, by the way, because I know he listens.
Yeah.
Teleport Hole Games Company. Might as well give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Andrew. There's people out there who are taking action, which is brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, amazing. Anything else to add on how to start a business, mate? Have we missed anything key?
I don't know. I don't think so. We've sort of meandered it here, there, and everywhere. I think a big part of it is mentality.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of it.
Yeah.
Persistence. Not taking other people writing you off as, as read, I suppose, and not taking that as gospel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you believe in something, pushing through, keeping on. Obviously, if you carry on something for 10 years and it's never made you a penny, then it's time to probably give it up. But within reason, you've got to stick with it and stick at it. And there's probably, I don't know, like I said earlier, I would imagine, based on completely nothing, that there's a lot of people that just get to a point where they're like, well, it's not working quickly enough for me. And if they'd have left it another year or something, then it might have happened.
I've not made £1 million in 3 months.
Yeah.
Need to forget about it.
We made about £1,000 in our first 9 months. We're not even made. That's just sales. People conflate that with how much money you make, and your sales is just your starting figure.
Yeah.
Everything else gets taken off it. Every bill that you pay, every supplier that you pay, every member of staff that you pay, every time you switch the lights on. So, £1,000 in 6 months, even if it was our profit, it's not enough for one person to live on, never mind 2. So
it was an awful start. That like we speak to a lot of startups, and I don't know any startup that's had such a bad start as we had. Like money wise, we had a great start in terms of learnings, but my God, that was painful. But such an amazing learning curve. I wouldn't change any of it.
I've just thought of we might cut this out, but just thought of another thing that we've done that's a bit ridiculous.
What?
The printer that we've been using. We're 3 and a bit years in, and we only just got like a proper wireless printer. We've been using a spare. Where did that even come from?
It was my mum and dad's.
It's about 20 years old.
Dad have our printer for work. He said, "Yeah, I never gave it them back. We've only just changed it."
It's about 20 years old. It's one of them where it comes out like that. It takes about 20 seconds to print some off.
Oh, God almighty.
It runs out of ink every 2 minutes.
Dear.
But, we got by with it. We printed probably, because we used to print off our order receipts for customers, and obviously for environmental reasons and stuff, we stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But we must have printed, I don't know, 10,000 orders
Easily.
off on there.
Easily. It took forever. We used to press print, and it would take. I remember going to make a coffee in our old place whilst it was printing, because it'd take that long. I come back, it still wasn't done.
Yeah.
And the amount of money we've spent on ink for that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope that was valuable to people. We have to shoot off, mate. It's 5 to 3. We've got stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the thing. Yeah.
That's the end of episode 10. Hopefully that's been insightful for people. If you've got any questions, any comments, any feedback,
keep it to yourself. We don't want to hear it. Sick of it. All right. No,
please direct them to the attention of Paul Simpson at Food Circle, especially if it's criticism. No, I'm joking.
I'm going to go out on a whim and say we've got Sean and Charlotte next week on the podcast. They're coming up next, episode 11, Super You. They can tell us all about their Dragon's Den experience, which we're watching tonight. That'll be embarrassing if they're not. I'm gonna tell them you're coming on the podcast. In fact, they'll have gone out. They'll have gone out by the time. Exactly. So if you saw Super You on Dragon's Den, then you can tell us all about it.
yeah, they'll be telling us all about it next time, next podcast.
The hardest person to get on the podcast has been one of my best mates. Literally, like, I've been asking him to come on for weeks on end.
He's a busy man.
Well, anyway.
He's not got time for you.
No, it's not, has he? So, yeah, thank you, everybody. Enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
you next week. And thanks to everyone that sent us nice comments and messages about the Forbes thing as well.
We really appreciate it. We need to get reply to everybody. We shall do that.
Thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.